thank you for joining me today. And today I am creating a layout using a sketch from the Hey Little Magpie Chat and Inspiration group on Facebook. This is the monthly challenge set by Amy this month, and she created this gorgeous sketch for us all to use. So I thought I would play along. You've got until the end of July to play, so do go on and check that out. I'll add the link in the description box down below. So I'm using Simple Stories Wildflower. It was their collaboration with My Mind's Eye, and I adore this collection. And I'm documenting some photos of my daughter and the outside of a restaurant where they had loads of floral bits, and I thought it was a perfect place to take a photo. So we took a quick snap before we carried on to our lunch reservation. So I'm just creating the border that Amy has around the sketch. You can see the sketch in the top right hand corner there. So I'm gutting the middle of the paper because I don't want to lose any of this gorgeous blue grid. And then I've cut my white cardstock down to 10.5 inches wide. So I've got 3/4 of an inch gap around each of the edges. I've grabbed this stencil. I think it's a Vicky Boutin stencil because it's got all the florals, and I'm just pushing some texture paste through it, and this will create the middle stripe. There are 3 stripes on this sketch, the top, middle and bottom. So the middle one I'm using this texture paste, and the other 2 I shall use mixed media. I'll use my Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks. So just lining up the stencil as best I can. I just chose that leaf to line it up with and finishing that strip going across. And now that's dry, I'm going to drag my shaded lilac across this and then water it down to create like a watercolour paint, and that will just highlight this texture paste, and in true Sarah form by the end of the layout I've more or less covered it all, but I know it's there and it is peeking. I'm just looking at the layout now, it is peeking out a little bit in parts, so all is not lost, but this is just so typical of me. So I'm using that shaded lilac for this strip, and then across the top I'm going to use the pink, which was, I'm just looking for it, Tattered Rose, and then the bottom strip is using a blue, and that's the Speckled Egg. So just added some splatters there, and now I'm bringing in my packaging to add the other 2. So first of all, this Tattered Rose, just watering it down, and then I shall place it down onto the cardstock. And bear in mind that this card is 10.5 inches square rather than 12 inches because of course I'm going to have that pattern paper border. So just bringing in a bit more ink to amplify the colour of that pink. And it's more like a peachy pink really, but it goes beautifully with the colours of the flowers in the photos that I'm documenting. So that's that one, and now I'm going to come in with some splatters again, just with what's left on the paper, and then this is the Speckled Egg. So exactly the same, just watering it down and then smushing it across the page in a strip like we've got on the sketch. And my photos are portrait rather than landscape, but that's fine. I'm still going to position them more or less per the sketch, and then I'm using a journaling block on the middle strip. So at the moment you can see I am following the sketch pretty closely. This doesn't last. I did try to follow the sketch, and I have followed the sketch, but when you see the end result, it doesn't really look like the sketch unless you've seen the process to see how I've created it. But I did really enjoy creating this. I think Amy makes amazing sketches, so it was great fun to do. So while I've left that to dry, I'm just adding a border to my photos, just a very slim white border just to make them stand out. And just trimming that down to size, and then I'll bring the layout back in. So I'm going to stick this down, and at this point I don't know whether I'm going to stitch around the edges of the white card, so I'm adding the adhesive further in so that the if I do use my sewing machine it doesn't mess with the adhesive and get my machine all gunked up. So you want to try, if you're stitching, not to go through any adhesive with your needle because it will pull it back into the mechanics of the machine. So just sticking that down and then starting to position my photos. So there are the 2 photos. The bottom one is just of the floral display in the distance, and then the top one is of Amelia posing. So I'm using the 12x12 sticker sheet predominantly, and these little white pieces are from one of the Hey Little Magpie dies that we sell under our own brand, and it's just loads of vines really, leaves, and I just think these add a really delicate touch to these photos. So just choosing some of the florals and adding some of these vines in white card around the pictures. And this comes together very quickly actually. I see this piece that says Live Happy, and I think that will work really nicely as that star collection that Amy has on the top strip on the left hand side. So I add that there and then just continue to build up the florals next to the photo. Then I bring in some word strips. I love these. This green one says a great day, and then above it I say this, and then I move back onto this photo at the bottom. I want to bring my title in soon, so I'm trying to decide how I'm going to do that. This is going to be my journaling block. It's a tag with a grid on it, which is perfect because it means I can hold it horizontally rather than vertically. And I just attach that with a little moth from the sticker sheet. And my title is going to be this word sweet, and that pretty much fills that gap between the two photos because I'm using portrait photos. But I love how that looks, and it really builds up that strip that's going down the right hand side of the page. And this is where I sort of stray from the sketch. Although I'm still using those 3 strips that are going horizontally, I am starting to create a vertical column as well on the right hand side. So just continuing to build up the embellishments around, and like I say, focusing in really on that 12 by 12 sticker sheet. I don't often use florals on my layouts, so when I have a picture like this, it's perfect to get them used up, and they work really nicely. And I think that's why this came together so quickly, because I still had so many of those florals left on that 12 by 12 sticker sheet. So just getting those photos stuck down. I wasn't sure whether I was going to add them onto foam pads, but because I've got things overlapping the photos, I was feeling a bit lazy actually. I thought if I add foam pads, I'm going to have to start adding everything else onto foam pads, and I quite like the look of it being flat actually. So just adding some glue underneath those vines. I do go back to that one at the bottom because it's overlapping the title a little bit too much, and I didn't notice that when I first stuck it down. So I will move that up a little bit in a sec. So tucking in the little floral bits and anything that I can find on that sticker sheet that will work. Here I am on that piece now, just moving it up. And in fact, you'll see in the pictures at the end, it's more or less tucked behind the title there. So just adding some wax twine to that tag, and I go for a peach colour and just staple it down with my tiny attacher, and then secure that with my tape. So just deciding how to put this twine at the bottom, but in the end I just decided to snip off those ends and put it down there. So adding a couple more word strips now, one that says Radiate Sunshine, and then another one under that says Real Life. And there's a little gap you can see just above that Real Life sticker, so I do solve that with, first of all I use this circular heart, but then I find a little cluster of flowers which works much better, so I move that and add that there, and move that heart just there. So next I grab this border strip. I've just got a half piece left. I'd used some of it on a previous layout, so that tucks neatly underneath that bottom photo and just provides a little bit of interest there and brings that yellow across that I've put on the right hand side in the florals. And then another one of these beautiful moths, just trying to decide where to put that, and I decided to overlap it onto the border just to bring that border into the main layout. This word strip says Today is the Day, and that fills in that gap nicely right the way down to the journaling block. This Swift I add, again overlapping onto the border to bring it into the layout, and then I add my journaling. So the journaling just reads, we caught the tube from Euston straight down to Bank to go to our reservation at the Sky Garden. On our way I spotted this very photo-worthy restaurant and you obliged. Amelia was very amenable on that day for me taking photos. She sometimes doesn't like it, but she let me, so I was very happy. So this is going to be another layout for her album of our first concert together when we went down to see Billy Joel, so it's nice to get another layout completed for that. So now I'm going through the sticker book. I've still got loads of stickers left in this sticker book, so just finding some more leaves that I can add in, and then a little label to go underneath that tag, and I'll just stamp the date on that. Just tucking it under neatly and seeing what else there is. So adding my date here, just a couple of times, as I usually do. And then I find this little circle, which is just filling in that blank space there nicely, and that says my heart. And then bringing in some of these fabric leaves that we've got at Hey Little Magpie, just positioning them around with the little embroidered flowers that work so nicely with this collection. So very nearly done now. I'm just going to glue all these down and bring in a padded heart as well in a minute, and some of the resin dots that we've got just to finish it off. Just one down there with pink, and then another one at the top with grey. I'm just gluing those down, and they bring a different texture in, and I really like how they look. So finally I'm just going to cover everything up and add some fine gold splatters using one of our new faux sable brushes. This is the number 4, so it produces really small splatters, which I wanted on this because it's such a delicate layout. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much, Amy, for the inspiration from your sketch. Do go and check out the Hey Little Magpie Chat and Inspiration group. As I say, I'll link that in the comments down below. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask. I do love chatting in the comments section. And other than that, I shall see you very soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye.